Hello. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are.
Good
It's Sunday.
evening.
Good evening. Good morning here if
Good
you're on
day.
the West Coast.
Should
Good
we just
day.
leave it with good day?
Good day.
Good day.
Fine folks. It's Sunday. We are here to talk a lot of comics. We've got some comic book news. We've got some comic book
Violence.
violence. I was trying to make it rhyme. I was trying to be like, we've got some slews. I don't know. Is that a word? Someone tell me.
Sleuth.
Sleuths.
I
Sleuth,
don't know about that.
sleuths, like you're sleuthing.
Put it in Scrabble. Somebody put it in Scrabble and tell me if they accept it.
Yeah.
That's the only answer I'll accept is if Scrabble accepts it.
Well, I know that I got a pretty good stack of comics. Yesterday was free comic book day, and my shop you get 5 comics. So I picked up 5, and there's like 30 to 40 that you can choose from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really curious what everyone else picked up. But what I want to do is I want to say hello to some people in the chat. Of course, almost always here first. It's our friend Travis. Thank you so much. Comics be with you. It was Star Wars Day.
It was Star Wars Day.
On Wednesday.
It was.
It also happened to be my partner's birthday. So let's see here. And then, of course, because merch dropped 2 weeks ago. There's a link down here. So I've got just a heads up. If you do post on social media that you got Casually Comics Sunday chat merch, just know that I have a picture of you saved on my phone.
Big same. I cry every time I see a picture of it. I do. I literally cry. It's insane. The stuff has been rolling out all this week, and just seeing people in their cups, their shirts, their hoodies. Y'all are insane. Thank you so much for supporting us and for representing us out in the wild. And honestly, it's really great to see that a lot of the stuff that is selling is I don't want to say generic stuff that maybe isn't necessarily for our show, but it's like the comics are for everyone.
Yeah.
The Make It Gay, you cowards. And it makes me happy to realize that you guys share the same morals that we do.
We love it. We love to see it. So thank you so much for that, y'all. Wednesday spoiler, hello. And our friend Officially Unofficial Geek, hello.
We missed you last week.
We did. Joram, here we go. Good morning and howdy, friends. Happy Mother's Day. So if you haven't already, if you can, if you want to, if you have that kind of relationship, maybe call mom today. Maybe text.
Something.
If you want to. Hello, everyone, says Niall. Eddie says, howdy, one and all. Happy Free Comic Book Day Mother's Day weekend. Hope everyone's having a good May. I hope everyone's having a good May. It's going to be May. Remember to click the link and buy some merch. Thank you to John, who is also someone who bought merch from us. So thank you for that. Hello, another Pacific Northwester. Happy Mother's Day, one and all. James Phelps, good morning, Mars and Jennifer. How much violence did Mars choose today? You're gonna see.
Y'all about to find out.
I don't even know how much it's gonna be, and I know it's gonna be a lot. So, you did agree to being on my phone, John.
You bought the merch. It's in the terms of service when you buy Casually Comics merch that you are agreed to be on our phones.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Exactly. Let me see here. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. Yeah, I literally if you can see this, I literally took a picture of your stream yesterday and sent it to Mars, and I'm like, oh my God,
I freaked out. It was
great.
It was fantastic.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it a lot. And Manic23, hey Jen and Mars, hey comic folk. And then Bizarro Fett, good morning, comic peeps. So let's dive into some news. There was a lot of news this week.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff we literally just found about 5 seconds ago before we hit live, and we're like, oh, that's interesting. We need to share it with the world.
So there was like news that we were like, okay, we're gonna have to talk about this, but like let's see what else is going on. And I'm conflicted on some of the news, so we'll get into that. But I think the biggest piece of news this week that came out yesterday was that comic book legend and icon and
pioneer
I have not heard, like, you know, even when like Stan Lee passed away, people were like, Stan Lee. But seriously, so George Perez passed away. It sounds like Friday, he passed away. And just, I think the industry is really heartbroken right now. Everyone has just been telling insanely good stories about him. I think that's rare.
For
You
everybody to
actually,
have a good story about somebody.
yeah. You sent me that news yesterday. Um, how are you feeling about that? Is there like a George Perez story that you really love, or
I mean, everything he did for Wonder Woman. Wonder
yeah,
Woman would not be the character she is today, would not be the revolutionary icon, would not have the mythos that she has if it was not for George Perez.
yep,
Even so, look at like Teen Titans, same deal. We would not have the Teen Titans characters that we have today if it was not for George Perez. He was really great about taking characters that, had been around for a while and revolutionizing them and bringing them more into a modern era, but bringing them into an era to the point where they kept existing and kept growing with the foundation that he built for them,
while
and
still maintaining, like, I don't want to say
without
the
maintaining their legacy.
yeah, yep,
And it's absolutely incredible. And I've only met George Perez once in passing. It was very brief when I first started getting into comics. So at that time, I didn't know that George Perez was the revolutionary icon he was. I just thought he was some old dude that wore really cool button-down shirts.
yeah,
But I remember even in passing, he was probably one of the nicest people I have ever met in my entire life. And
yeah.
the industry, there's a hole in the industry now without him. There really is.
Yeah. Agreed. I think it's really, I'm glad that there's a lot of people who are celebrating his life. It's interesting to see that maybe like 2-3 months ago, it was announced, okay, he's like in stage 4 cancer. So like
Stage 3 of, I believe it was pancreatic cancer.
yeah. And okay, wrapping up some things, and we're going to spend some time with loved ones and spend some time in the community. And I'm really glad that we got to see the big DC Marvel. I'm really glad that we got to see that reprinted, and that he really got to see people celebrating his work, because seriously, so many people influenced by him, and so many great characters that even me, like, I'm not in the industry as like a writer, artist, anything like that, but the way that he influenced the industry for readers too.
It's insane.
So what's some other news that we got?
Other news that we have coming out this week. So I guess stuff for New York Comic Con was starting to come out, badges being released and things like that. And it was revealed that this year, I believe, also along with Thought Bubble, that creators and professionals would now be having to pay in order to be a part of the show. So even if you're a guest, if you're invited to the show, you would have to pay $100 for a 4-day pass just to have the rights to showcase your work at a convention that you were invited to. And that, to me, is insanity. It honestly just kind of highlights conventions like NYCC, all the fan expos, SDCC, where it's no longer about the comics. It's now about the celebrities and the big names that they can get. And if that's the case, then we need to stop calling it Comic-Con and start calling it New York Celebrity Con, because you're proving already that you're putting these celebrities that already have enough money before the creators, which is why you have a Comic-Con in the first place. It's just insane to me. I hate it. I hate everything. I hate this timeline.
And especially, like, when I think about that, and I think about what it's like for people, especially traveling out of state, out of the area, like, it's one thing if it's a local convention to you. It's another thing if it's, when you have to travel for it. Not only is that creator usually putting up the bill for, like, travel, hotel, food, all of that, and then printing merch and bringing it with them, and
A lot of
thinking,
work.
and what's stopping like a pro from being there to just like going to maybe Artist Alley, because typically you have to pay like a table fee to be at Artist Alley. It feels kind of shitty, and it feels like another blow to like the tiny profit margin that artists can actually get from their own work. So that's really, really disappointing. I hope that they get rid of that or something, because that just seems
It's
crappy.
insanity. It's complete insanity. And I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen something like that sooner, especially with the way that the industry seems to be moving in favor of celebrities and in favor of these movie stars, especially with, all the comic book stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
But, this is why I personally like my local convention, Baltimore Comic-Con, because it is truly comics first, and they might have one or two media guests if you're lucky. So I don't know. Maybe that's my plug for y'all to go to Baltimore Comic-Con so you can hang out with me. It's fine.
There you go. What other news we got?
One of the things we learned right before jumping on stream, which I think is kind of hilarious, it seems like Oscar Isaac, legendary Moon Knight star.
Legendary Moon
Knight star. I don't know about that anymore, but Anyway, legendary Moon Knight star is jumping into the comic game. I guess he was hanging out with Keanu Reeves and Emilia Clarke and realized that this would be a good idea. So this is new to me, so bear with me as I kind of break it down for y'all. But apparently Moon Knight star Oscar Isaac is teaming up with Legendary Comics and Rocket Ship Entertainment to launch a Kickstarter for a original graphic novel called Head Boon Sparrow. And it's actually being done with Christian Ward, who we absolutely love. And we've talked about Christian Ward's artwork a lot. And we talked about his book, Bloodstained Teeth, last week and how much we love that. So the idea that he's teaming up with Christian Ward, I mean, good for Christian Ward. Congratulations to you, pal. But I think the most jarring part about this is the article that I found obviously has the cover, has some of the first few pages, as most Kickstarters does. And it is clearly Oscar Isaac as the main character, much like we saw with Berserker, where the main character was clearly Keanu Reeves. We kind of got that with Mother of Madness, where it kind of looked like Emilia Clarke was the main character. Maybe not quite, but you could definitely reach that. And it's just like, is it a matter of these actors and actresses not being able to find work, or maybe the work that they want, so then they go and they write something or they create something with the hopes that it will get adapted? That's all I can think of.
And it seems kind of shitty, not shitty, I don't know. So in a lot of these works where it's like Berserker with Keanu Reeves, how much influence did Keanu Reeves really have in the writing room, in the process? And
or even he literally just say, make sure that character looks like me.
Yeah. Yep. Like, let's do this. Okay. You guys do the rest. So I'm really curious now, like when you said Oscar Isaac doing a Kickstarter, I rolled my eyes because I'm just like, I'm kind of tired of celebrities doing this. And I'm like, I'm definitely not going to support it. But then you said Christian Ward and I'm like, okay, I got to support this. I love Christian Ward's art so much.
At this point, I feel like the only celebrity, if we can call him that, I guess he is, the only celebrity we support writing comics, I feel like, is Patton Oswalt.
Oh, 100%. I love Patton Oswalt so much. Patton Oswalt, I know you're watching. Keep doing it.
Speaking of Patton Oswalt, we're kind of going to go off topic here. Did you watch, after I told you Friday, I sent Jen a little text Friday,
Probably not.
Chilling late at night, I'm watching Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Did you watch it?
I did not.
All right, you're breaking my heart here. Listen, chat, hear me out. If you want to see the best comic book movie ever made, please watch Teen Titans Go to the Movies, because it is the funniest thing in my entire life. Patton Oswalt plays Adam, in case you're wondering.
See, you told me that it's the best Swamp Thing, but you did not tell me that Patton Oswalt is in it.
No, I didn't. I probably should have added that in there. I should have been like, Patton Oswalt is Swamp Thing. Then she would have watched it. But yeah, Teen Titans Go to the Movies is on HBO Max. This is your plug to watch it, because if you want to turn off your brain and just have a good time, you will have a good time. I promise. It was great. It was perfect.
Okay.
It's perfect.
It's on my list for today.
That's what you got to do today. But that's like all the like newsy stuff. Now we're gonna jump into more of like the media stuff, because we tend to do that here on the show kind of sometimes. There was a big one that came out yesterday out of almost nowhere. We finally got the first ever trailer teaser.
It's a teaser. Girls. It's a teaser. It's not a full length trailer or anything. Yeah, but it looks.
It's close enough to get me excited. So we finally got the teaser for Paper Girls, which is a original series from Image Comics by Brian K. Vaughan, who does Saga, and Cliff Chiang, who does Catwoman Lonely City. And listen, Paper Girls, Okay, I haven't finished Paper Girls. I've gotten like through volume 3 or 4. I've gotten
Okay.
like 3/4 of the way through it. I have to catch up. It's still one of my favorite dang series, y'all. It's so good. It is such a great young adult, all ages, coming of age type story. And listen, while I understand what we saw yesterday was only a teaser of what we're going to get, the casting in this show already looks phenomenal. All of our paper girls look great. They all look like they suit their roles. And this has been something that's been coming on for a long time. And then it got shut down. And then we never knew it was going to be made. And I feel like this teaser finally solidifies that we are getting Paper Girls in full. Now we just need to start a prayer circle that it gets more than one season, because Brian K. Vaughan's properties tend to last only a season. R.I.P. to Y the Last Man, which was really good, and you should watch it. So that was really, really exciting that we're getting a new Paper Girls series, and that's on Amazon Prime. So extremely excited for that. We also, I guess I can talk about this because Jen's not here, and I know she's not a big fan of it, but we saw the finale of Moon Knight this week, and I'm a little conflicted. Tell me how you're feeling. Chat, let me know. I need to know. I feel like I'm rampaging here while I'm waiting for Jen to come back. Did you see Moon Knight this week? Did you watch the finale? Did you watch the series? What are your thoughts? Because I am conflicted. Listen, I've been on the show several times talking about how I think Moon Knight might beat WandaVision. I was wrong in that, but I thought it might beat WandaVision. I'm conflicted because I feel like those first couple episodes, I think 1 through 4, were really, really strong. They were really, really impactful. I really liked what they were doing with a lot of the play between Steven and Mark, and him going into those blackout modes where he didn't know what happened. And then it felt like it started to get a little weird. And granted, Moon Knight is a very weird character. I mean, he's a character that has DID. He's also a scion of a Egyptian god. He's going to be a little weird, but I felt like this show started to kind of lose its focus around that 5th or 6th episode when we started bringing Khonshu and everybody else into it. Moon Knight. We're talking about Moon Knight, Jen.
Moon Knight.
I think I'm conflicted on how I feel. I like that first half, but I don't know if I like the second half.
So, you know how I feel. You know that I did not particularly like. I didn't really care for the first couple of episodes. Like, it didn't draw me in. I felt like the pacing was kind of weird. And then the latter half, like, I'm going to be completely honest, most of the episodes could not capture my attention. Like, I felt myself drifting away. I can't tell you why. Part of me feels like I'm just watching it out of a sense of like, okay, I've watched everything else Marvel has put out. Let's go ahead and watch this too. So it feels like I'm watching it out of a sense of like responsibility or completionary, whatever. So I don't feel like I'm watching it because I actually enjoy it. And that sucks.
Okay, but can we talk about the big mommy alligator lady? Because I love her and I would die for her.
I liked that character a lot, and I don't necessarily want to say like, oh, I need an entire series of her, because I don't think that watchers, readers are ready for it. But I felt like her parts were the most enjoyable parts of the show.
I just like her, and I would like her to stop watching me.
I just think she's neat.
I just think she's neat. That was me the whole show. Is I think she's neat.
I think she's neat.
So that was the finale of Moon Knight. Obviously, you would watch season 2 if there was a season 2 out of obligation, I believe.
Out of obligation, 100%. It's
now. Do you think you would enjoy it more if maybe we did kind of branch off into the Midnight Suns era, and we saw things like Blade and Werewolf at Night kind of show up?
Of course. I'm not going to lie, I wish that Moon Knight was a movie. And I think that if Moon Knight had been a movie, it wouldn't have been like everywhere. If we had gotten like a 2.5-hour movie, I think that would have been nice enough to wrap everything up. Give us an origin, give us a villain, defeat the villain, let Marvel do its little formulaic thing, and then maybe do a show of Midnight Suns, and then you can introduce those characters in a show. But I don't know. I didn't love Moon Knight. I don't know if I'm going to go back and watch the first season.
Oof. That's a big oof. Well, here's something that you can be excited about. We finally got another photo of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster Thor, and you were literally, this is what she was crying about, guys. Listen.
Yeah.
The trailer dropped, Jen's on the show. Listen, I'm here for it, but I need to see a full body photo. I need to see them muscles.
Yeah.
We've seen the muscles, Jen. How does it hold up?
It holds up very, very well. And just
good.
to
She looks
see,
great.
well, I can't think of the actor's name who plays Thor, Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth?
Chris Hemsworth.
You forgot Chris Hemsworth, Nate?
I kept wanting to say Chris Pine. I kept wanting to say Chris Pine.
It's Mother's Day, and mothers everywhere just kind of died because you can't forget the love of their life, or you can't remember the love of their life.
Well, I do think that seeing the picture of Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth together, like the bisexual panic that I see, bisexual anxiety, that's when I'm, yeah, for someone who's bisexual, I don't know if
anxiety.
I can't use the term gay panic. I don't know. I do have incredible gay panic when I see both of those two folks together, and I'm like, this is going to be a good movie.
Very good movie. Very excited about that.
One of my reservations about the Thor movies, or Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, especially her coming into the Thor role, I was like, she's not bulky enough. She's bulky enough.
She is. She could step on me.
Yeah.
She could step on me and I would say thank you. So thank you, Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was another movie that came out this week. You've got thoughts.
I have lots of thoughts.
I know that you have a lot to say, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, if I had to rate this movie on maybe like a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know, maybe an 8.
What movie are we talking about, Jen?
Oh, are we talking about the WandaVision movie?
The WandaVision movie? Yes, we are absolutely talking about the WandaVision movie. WandaVision season 2, in fact.
Yeah, WandaVision season 2. That's kind of what it felt like. But so Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, I liked the movie, but I liked how horror-y it felt. It was definitely, to me, like Marvel's version of a horror movie, which I really appreciated. But there was a lot that I'm finding myself pick apart. Like, usually when I'm thinking about a movie later, I'm finding reasons to really like it. I'm like, I'll pick it apart when I see it, and then I will find reasons to, like, I'll build it up afterwards. And I'm like, I want to see this movie again. This movie, I felt, did a really good job in so many ways, but in a lot of ways it didn't.
Yep. And I kind of feel the same way. So, as always, I'm going to preface it with what I liked about the movie. I liked the idea that this broke the MCU formula. It was very horror-oriented. It almost felt like this movie was what they wanted New Mutants to be when they were like, we're making a horror movie, but a superhero movie. It very much felt like this is what New Mutants was trying to be. There was a lot of moments where, listen, I'm a little baby. All right, I'm going to say it right now. I like horror stuff, but when it comes to movies and shows, I'm a little baby. There was a couple times I jumped in my seat. I really like some of the fight scenes in this movie. Because we're trying to do this as spoilery free as possible, but obviously there's some stuff we might kind of bleed into, but we'll try to keep it as vague as possible.
Yeah.
There's one fight in particular with Doctor Strange where it's a fight with music, and you have, you can hear these like crescendos and these classic, these classical overtures that we're known to, as they're incorporated into part of the fight and incorporated into the score of the movie itself. And I'm like, holy shit. I was like, this might be the best movie I've ever seen. But then there was always that one thing in the back of my mind that's like, no. But I do like what Sam Raimi presented us, especially when you compare it to his Spider-Man. They're completely different movies.
Yeah. I would also say, though, that the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans were 15, 20 years ago.
20 years ago, just about.
So I think that the world is ready for that type of movie to be made.
Like a weird outside of the box type movie. And I think where this movie struggled, outside of the obvious reason that we'll talk about, I think where this movie struggled was in the first maybe 15 minutes, where it felt like he was being forced to give generic MCU. There was a big monster fight with Doctor Strange and Wong and some other characters. And even the way it looked just felt off because it felt very forced. But as soon as those reins were let off of Sam Raimi and he was allowed to be creepy, he was allowed to do weird shit and scare the audience, that's where he shined. He really did.
I think, not that I necessarily want to give someone credit. This is just me speculating on the credit. I 100% want to give Taika Waititi that credit because of a movie like Thor Ragnarok that was allowed to be a little bit weirder, was allowed to break the mold, even though it did have like a formula with it, I do think that it was able to break the
It was the
mold.
first movie. Well, I don't even think we could say that was the first movie to break the mold, because I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy
That's
might
true.
take that. And then
Especially adding a lot more humor into it, for
mhm.
sure. Mhm.
And then Taika came in and kind of twist things around. And then obviously Sam Raimi going the opposite approach. I'm not going to do something funny. I'm not going to do something heartwarming. Instead, I'm going to do something that mentally traumatizes you.
Mhm.
It makes me interested to see. And Josue's not here, but Josue made a really good point this morning. He made a tweet talking about how it feels like all of the movies in phase 4 of the MCU follow its own sort of genre and follows its own sort of
Okay.
footsteps that kind of makes it feel like you're going into a comic book shop and you're picking something off of the shelf, and each book that you pick up off of the shelf is something different, is something that pertains to a different audience, without being connected the way that the phase 1 and phase 2 were, and phase 3 even. But at the same time, you can see where eventually those lines may intersect. And I think he hit that right on the head when he said that this morning. I really do.
Yeah. One of the things, now this is me, I don't want to give away any spoilers. But I am going to get a little bit spoilery. So if you haven't watched the movie, go ahead and maybe mute or whatever. But some of the things that I didn't like about this movie, I think were things that were based off my own expectations. So for instance, and once again, I'm going to get a little bit spoilery here. We were teased the Illuminati, and spoiler alert, we 100% got the Illuminati, not necessarily the way that we see it in the comic books. I really liked the way they did it, but it felt so short
And
um,
rushed.
and rushed. And it felt like when I think about a movie called The Multiverse of Madness, I'm like, sweet. We have this way where we can use the Illuminati, we can use all these groups coming together, where this is going to start a new phase of the MCU, or this is going to really have far-reaching implications for the MCU. And this movie did not do that, in my opinion. I thought that it could have done more to reach out into the actual multiverse, rather than where it still felt
It
like it.
played very safe. It was
Mhm.
very safe for a movie called Multiverse of Madness. I agree with you 100%, where if you're doubling down and you're calling yourself Multiverse of Madness, and especially because, and I feel like this isn't its fault because they're two separate movies, but I feel like
Yeah,
Spider-Man set that bar so high
yeah.
with what we can do now, with
Mhm.
what, because I feel like the only reason why we haven't done that before is because it was, oh, mainstream audiences will be alienated. They won't really understand what's going on. Obviously, Spider-Man showed that was not the case.
Mhm.
So, it is a matter of, let's just go full on comic book and do the weirdest
Yeah.
shit we possibly can.
And I was even I texted you because on Friday I was watching Endgame, and then I watched Captain Marvel, and I was like, man, I feel like that's what I expected out of Multiverse of Madness. Is I expected, like, at the end of Avengers, the first Thanos one, uh Infinity, what was it called?
Infinity War?
Infinity War, thank you. Oh my god. So at the end of Infinity War, you see, like, oh my god, this is going to have implications across the next couple of movies before we get Endgame or whatever is going to come out. Um, so that's what I was hoping with Multiverse of Madness. I was hoping, like, for a snap,
Yeah.
and then it's like that's what I was expecting. I didn't get it, and I think that's where I'm like, it could have been better. But I know that you have a lot of other thoughts about the movie and about. I want to let you, yeah. What you
Whew.
have some thoughts?
Yes.
Let's get into it.
I've been planning. Listen,
This
Jen,
is the
Jen,
violence we choose on Sundays.
this is what's a step up from violence? We need something more
Rioting.
than violence, because I'm feeling two steps above violence right now. So I'm trying to use the most calm, safe manner, without crying, without yelling, without screaming. But uh obviously there was a treatment of a very particular character that I am very fond of that was not handled in the best of way. I'm going to try to do this as spoiler free as possible, but obviously I might bleed either way. I'm going to try to keep things very vague. Y'all, Wanda Maximoff did absolutely nothing wrong and did not deserve what the fuck y'all did to her. Kevin Feige, everybody who was involved in the writers' room of Multiverse of Madness, we need to have a serious fucking chat because obviously you have not read comics outside of House of M and the Dark Witch, Scarlet Witch saga. Obviously you did not watch WandaVision aside from the last maybe 5 minutes of the finale when she became Scarlet Witch. Because you totally disrespected her character in the most obnoxious way possible. And I'm not blaming Sam Raimi at all for this. Sam Raimi's a director. He brought his vision to life with what he needed to do. This is purely with the writing. So, spoiler alert, as it was teased months ago, and I was praying, God, please no, Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, is the bad guy of this movie.
I like that she's the bad guy. I'm
fine with her being the bad guy of the movie, but it was teased, and I had kind of come to terms with myself that, okay, it's a version of her that is the bad guy. And maybe it's a matter of her having to fight with her inner self to regain, back the goodness of herself. That wasn't the case at all. The version that we have grown with of Wanda through Age of Ultron, through WandaVision, through the Infinity War, through Endgame, this is our Wanda. And I'm saying that because it's the Wanda that we grew with. We didn't grow with any of these other versions of her. I don't feel sympathy for any of these other versions. I mean, I do because I love Wanda and I love all versions of Wanda, but I feel sympathy for this Wanda. And this Wanda's main motivations is to jump through the multiverse and find her children. And I'm fine with that. Listen, y'all want to take House of M and make House of M your own because this really feels like what y'all were trying to do. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with her motivation being, I'm going to jump through the multiverse to find my child or children. I'm okay with killing one child in order to do it. First of all, it's one person. It's one person. Y'all making it out to be like, y'all making it out to be like she's killing the entire world. It's one
comic book version of the trolley problem.
It's one person, y'all. Okay. Second of all, Wanda obviously is not well. And I feel like that's why a lot of people, including myself, resonate with Wanda because she's not well. She knows she's not well and she's trying to grow with not being well and realizing it's okay to not be okay. Dr. Strange rolls the fuck up and was like, hey, I'm not here to talk about Westview. What you did, I understand. You righted your wrongs. I'm here to figure this out. As soon as Wanda's switch flipped and she's like, I want to do this thing. I need my children back. Don't I deserve to be happy? As soon as she said, don't I deserve to be happy? And he rejected her. He did not offer her help. None of the Avengers ever offered her help. No one ever came to her after Vision died. No one ever came to her after Westview and she lost her children and her ideal happiness forever. Doctor Strange looked her in the face and said, Wanda, your children are not real. Your feelings are not valid. Fuck you. You need to die.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. There was no compromise. There was no conversation. There was no, let me help you on your terms. Let's come up with a solution together. Okay, we understand America Chavez. She's got the power to go through the multiverse. Maybe not killing her and stealing her power is not the best route. But what if all three of us? What if we have a little tea party? What if we figure things out? We'll figure something out for you. Instead, it was, no. Instead, it was, well, when you go to this place, what happens to their mom? It was never, what happens to you? How do you feel? And as somebody who has struggled with mental health issues, I felt like I was trapped in my seat for 2 hours watching a movie where I was told every time I got angry, every time I got sad, every time I lashed out for something that maybe I was justified to lash out about, I was wrong and I was the bad guy. And it's not fair. Oh shit, I'm quoting Wanda. That's weird. Anyway, it's not fair. And I just think about the amount of disrespect, not only to the character, but to the fans. Because let's look at Wanda Maximoff as a character. Before WandaVision, no one really cared about Wanda Maximoff. As soon as WandaVision hit, I have never seen a character's popularity spike in the way that it did. And who did she resonate with most? Women and queer people. Those are the two loyal stan cults of Wanda Maximoff, okay? I am both. I resonate with that, okay? you're telling me that now all of these women have to go and look at a character that they are now idolizing and that they now resonate with and are being told that they're the bad guy with no justification. It's very funny because when I walked into the theater, because obviously I had to go in my little Scarlet Witch getup, I was so excited to cheer on Wanda Maximoff. There was a girl leaving the theater that was also in a Wanda Maximoff getup. And we looked at each other and I thought it was going to be a moment of, oh, you look so cute. Oh, you look so cute. And I remember the look on this girl's face. Like she was disappointed or she was sad or she was angry. And I wish that she had warned me, do not do this. Yeah. Because that's how I felt walking out of the theater. I cried for 3 hours straight. I'm sorry if that's dramatic for y'all, but I cried, especially because let's look at a book like Trials of Magneto, where for an entire event for 6 issues, we worked to redeem her character. She became the Redeemer. Now we're resulting her back to the bad guy. And my biggest fear is because Marvel likes to piggyback off of the MCU. My biggest fear is they're going to make Wanda a bad guy again in the comics.
And I think, you know, to your point, a lot of the other characters in these movies get a little bit of that where it's like, oh, you did a bad thing, like Iron Man. Like, you know, we get to see that he built his entire industry on war weapons, all of that. And he gets a redeeming arc and he still gets to be the hero. We have someone like Hawkeye, who after his family dies, he goes and does some not great things. Still gets redemption, still gets that redemption arc. And so even Thor, I don't think that we've seen it yet, but we do get to see him. I don't think we're going to see his like villain era, but I do think that we have seen a little bit of his depression era, maybe depression robe era. And he's still going to become the hero. He's still going to become, like you said, the Redeemer, but we're not going to get to see that with Wanda. And this is a spoiler alert, but at the end of this movie, she dies. Like, she goes away.
She doesn't get a redeeming arc, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And the worst part of it is, you know, you sit there and you sit through 2 end credit scenes and you think that maybe you're going to get a redeeming scene for her or some sort of tease that there will be redemption for her. Instead, we were left with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't know. It's like, why? And that's why I keep joking. I just want to talk. I really do. I just want to talk. Because why bother building up a character, showcasing her grief, showcasing the trauma that she goes through and the pain that she goes through, realizing that the route that she took to heal herself was not the correct way and is now like, we need to find an alternative way to heal. That's what we left off in WandaVision. WandaVision ends with, there is a way for you to heal. It's not this way. Let's find another.
Yeah.
And instead that Let's find another is doing the same shit, but worse.
Yep.
You know, why bother building up a character if you're only going to tear them down again?
Exactly. And it stinks because, you know, let me go ahead and to the Bronze Page's point, you know, Elizabeth Olsen is the rising star of Marvel, especially we saw that after WandaVision. Like, I thought that it was going to be a 50-50 Wanda and Vision show.
She carried it on her back.
Yep.
She carried this movie on her back.
To see all of that thrown away just for this movie, it really sucks. So yeah. Do you feel like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you feel like this is a movie that you would ever try to go back and watch?
I don't know if I can. As much as I want to, because like I said, there are scenes in it that I think are really great. Yeah. And I really love. I don't think I could. I think seeing it once took it out of me. And I literally, true, thank you, Niall. I was actually thinking that, you're going to disrespect Wanda Maximoff on Mother's Day weekend, no less.
You know, I was thinking that when I was watching the movie, I'm like, man, this is a good Mother's Day movie because it's literally her. Like, she wants to hang out with her kids. I totally get that. But then it ultimately boils down to she doesn't deserve her kids. She doesn't deserve
She doesn't deserve. See, I took it away. She does not deserve to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what hurt me the most in thinking about it, was thinking that as a person who has gone through trauma, and a person that is broken, and a person that has lost those that loved her,
Mm-hmm.
now she still doesn't deserve love. And
Yeah.
it makes it's really, really sucky. So I kind of want to leave it off here, because I could honestly talk about this for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to leave it here, where if you are a person that is also struggling with mental health issues, whether you saw the movie or not, or maybe you saw the movie and you're like, and it's taking a lot out of you. My DMs are always open, friends. You can always message me. We can talk about it. We can cry about it. But I think at the end of the day, I think the one message I want to leave is it's okay to not be okay. I think that's the most important lesson that we need to take away from this, is it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. And it's the feelings that you have with it are 100% valid.
Mhm.
Whether you, and I'll say this, your feelings are 100% valid if you liked the movie or if you didn't. Like, whatever you choose, whatever you're feeling, it's okay.
Yep.
So that is our 100% spoilery, non-spoiler review.
I feel like we did okay with it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Really quick. I know this is like completely off topic, but I also went and saw The Northman.
Not good.
I
was looking forward to that one.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. I thought that there are shots and that are things that are done. 100%. It needed more naked Alexander Skarsgård.
Then I think you just need to watch True Blood.
I recently rewatched True Blood and I still didn't get enough, but I needed more dong hanging in general out of The Northman.
Dong hanging. Got it.
And
perfect.
I have a really hard time thinking that, so the actress that plays his like love interest, Anna Taylor-Joy, is 20 years younger than him. And his mom in the movie, like, this is the actors, you know, and then the actress that plays his mom in real life is only 10 years older than him. So I felt like that was really weird. I don't know.
It's just all bizarre.
And it's
all made up. Points don't matter.
Yeah, it's all 100%. That, and like, it's based off of like the myth that Hamlet is based off of, and it really just feels like it could have been weirder and wasn't. That's my review of The Northman. So, anyways,
I think we have one last.
Do we have one last?
We have one last Doctor Strange take. I feel like we need to say it. You already said 8 out of 10, right?
I said about an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I
10.
still, for visually, taking out the part where Wanda just gets treated, 8 out of 10. What would you rate it?
I feel like I'm kind of there. I would say 7 to 8 out of 10. If we're looking at Wanda, I would say 2 out of 10.
Yeah. Yep. Justice for Wanda.
I only give Wanda points because of how badass she was, and because I was the psychopath in the theater scream burn it down. So if you were in my theater, that was me.
If you're in my theater, it was mostly just me going da-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. That was me.
That was you.
That was me.
We actually have comics we have to talk about.
We do have comics that we need to talk about. And as always, there's 20-something of you in the chat, and I really want to know this week, where do we start? Do we start with Marvel? Do we start with Indie? Do we start with DC? We
always let y'all decide.
Yeah.
I feel like comics this week were a little slow. I'm not wondering if it's because of Free Comic Book Day.
Maybe. This was a rather light week for me. I really loved, I'll be honest, I didn't read all my comics. Surprise. But I did read a lot of indies. I actually only have 1 Marvel, 1 DC, and 5 indies.
I have 2 Marvel, 1 DC, and the rest are indies.
Wow. So it was a pretty good week for indies. So we've got 1 DC, 1 indie. How about we go through Marvel and or DC first, and then go through indies last?
We can do indies. We'll switch it up.
Yeah. Normally, I feel like we normally do indies first. So let's do DC first.
You want to do DC first?
Yeah. I've only got 1.
I think it's the same one I have.
I think so too.
Dun, da, 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 and there it is.
Yeah. So this was the coronation special for Nubia, written by, I'm going to go ahead and give the credits as best as I can.
There was a lot of people on this book.
There really were, and I liked it because there were some artistic style changes that I think 100% worked for this book. So Stephanie Williams and Vita Ayala are the writers. Marguerite Savage, Colleen Duran, Daryl Banks, Jill Thompson, and Aletha Martinez are the artists. Marguerite Savage, Colleen Duran, Hi-Fi, Jill Thompson, and Alec Guillermez, sorry if I butchered that one, are the colorists. And the letterer is Becca Carey, and David Mack did the main cover. So that was Nubia, Coronation Special. What are your thoughts on this?
I really, really wanted to love this book.
Oh, and
I think this book was extremely messy because it had a lot of things that it wanted to tell, but it did not tie them all together the way that it wanted to. So this, obviously, it's Nubia's Coronation Special. Trial of Amazons has now ended. I will say, thankfully, you don't need to read Trial of Amazons to pick this up. You can kind of jump right into it. Nubia is being crowned queen of all the Amazons, so all of the tribes, which were showcased throughout Trial of the Amazons. But she's being crowned as the queen. And I don't know, it does this weird thing where it kind of, at one point, it goes through her past life, because obviously Nubia is one of many who was born through the Well of Souls, where it's usually you die a traumatic death in the real world as a woman. Well, not in the real world, but, you know, outside of Themyscira as a woman, and then you're rebirthed on Themyscira as an Amazon. So we finally get to kind of see her backstory, but not, I feel like, in enough sort of way. And then we get to see more of the coronation and her, you know, leading up and getting ready for it. And then it jumps into this really weird conversation between her and a cop.
Yeah, that was the part that I liked the least.
About race and racial injustice and, you know, your word versus mine as a woman of color. And I'm also a person of color as the acting police force. And I'm totally okay with the conversation that was had, because obviously there are going to be people out there that are like, get your politics out of my comics.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the conversation that was had. My issue is where the conversation was had, because it literally jumped right in the middle. It dropped it right in the middle of the story, and it just felt really, really awkward. And I was trying to figure out where this kind of came from or where it tied in with the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it just kept trying to do that, where it would jump from the coronation to either a past memory or something that had happened, but none of these moments ever connected. And it was just very awkward to me. Also, you invited men to Themyscira for the coronation. Isn't that like, you can't do that? Men aren't allowed on Themyscira. There's only one man that's ever been allowed on Themyscira, and that was Steve Trevor. JK, because Oliver Queen has been on Themyscira. But they make a big deal that men are not allowed to be on Themyscira, yet you had all these men reporters, not even men, just fucking reporters, on Themyscira taking pictures for their BuzzFeed news articles. It didn't make any sense to me. I don't know. It was confusing.
That, to me, like the scene where that pacing was weird. I did not like that. I do think that, you know, to invite men onto Themyscira, I don't necessarily have an issue with that as much. But it did feel a little bit jumpy. It had to do that because this is like a one shot, right? Like we're not getting it isn't like a 1 of 12 or anything like that. I did think that all of the artwork that I saw was just absolutely beautiful. I do want to highlight, I think that's great. And then this, I love
the pinups. I think the pinups in the back of this book were absolutely gorgeous. And I will say this about Nubia, because I feel like we've been showcasing her a lot, and with good reason. And I feel like maybe I've said this on the show before, but I'm really glad that we're finally taking a character from Wonder Woman mythos that supposedly should be as big as Wonder Woman, but has never had the spotlight that she deserves. And she's finally getting that. She's getting her own series. She's getting one-shots. She's at the face of a lot of the Wonder Woman-esque titles. Yeah. And it makes me really happy that it only took you 30 years to finally do something with this character that's been sitting around forever. And I'm really excited to see where the rest of this character can and will go.
I agree. Like, I want to see Nubia join in on a lot of the other fun. Like, I want to see her in other titles. I want to see her like with her own title, all of that. Yep.
It's great. I'm
And
excited.
but I really hope they don't treat her like they treated Wonder Girl, Yara Flor.
Justice for
You
Yara
know,
Flor.
you know what I'm talking
At this
about.
point, I'm just convinced that I'm not allowed to like characters because it feels like every time that I like a character and I get really, really into a character to the point of obsession, that I get disrespected and the character gets disrespected. So maybe I'm just not allowed to like characters anymore. It's fine.
What if like Tom King was gonna write Wonder Girl?
No, I want Gail Simone.
Yeah, I agree.
Give me Gail Simone.
Well, I've got one Marvel title, and I think I think I know that you read this one.
I have 2 Marvel titles.
2. Okay. Well, mine, the one that I have is Marauders #2. And boy, howdy, did I like this one more than I liked the first issue by a long shot.
I have a new favorite character.
You do.
And she's going to get disrespected. It's fine.
You apparently, and this is like completely out of left field, Cassandra Nova.
I'm obsessed.
Who is Charles Xavier's twin sister.
That's all I know. Apparently she tried to eat him in the womb or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good for her. She could do whatever she wants. I just, listen, do I really know what happened in this issue? I'm going to be honest. I kind of sped read through this issue and I was just flipping through it. And whenever she would pop up, I would stop and I would read it. But I just like how she's just in the back of like everybody. Like she'll just be in the distance looking like a pure and complete fucking gremlin. Yeah. And there's this really wonderful line. Oh, I sent it to you this morning. Hold on. I need to pull it back up because this is why I love this character, y'all. So Cassandra Nova, old lady badass that she is, getting choked the fuck out. And she says, "You'll have to squeeze harder than that to get my attention, dear. My own brother asserted himself better in the womb." And I'm like, she's so badass. So listen,
she's sassy.
Marvel, listen, hear me out. I know we've been at odds for years. I know
Marvel. I know I just trashed everything that you're doing with Wanda.
I just trash everything that you ever do ever. It's only because I love you. But if you want to make me really happy, give me a Cassandra Nova series. I'll gladly take a one shot. Put Cassandra Nova at the forefront of everything you got going on for X-Men because she's great. I need some recommendations. I think my partner's listening to this right now. And it's
Grant Morrison's X-Men.
Exactly. My partner's like, we literally had a rant about this a few months ago and you're forgetting. I think I'm supposed to read Grant Morrison's new X-Men. But if anybody else has any other Cassandra Nova recommendations, please shoot them my way because she's my new favorite.
That's the only one that I can really think of. But her first appearance doesn't show up until like in the hundreds. So I don't know how much you'd have to like actually read of like new X-Men in order to get to her, if it really matters.
I need her first appearance. I don't even know her that well, but I think I need her first appearance.
Yeah. What would you say if Marvel and DC did a crossover and it was like Granny Goodness versus Cassandra Cain?
Excuse me, there would be no verses because they would team up and decide to take over the world together.
Yeah.
They would team up.
I would love that. Marvel DC.
I just want old lady badasses. Like I feel like when I play D&D games, I feel like that's my go-to trope is playing the like unhinged older badass woman. So like yeah, she's right up my alley. She's great. But the rest of the book I guess was okay. I mean, I don't really know what's happening. I think the art's great.
Like I said, I like this one a lot more than I did issue 1, but I still feel like there's moments where I need to go back and reread issue 1. So I'll get it all in another reread. But Banshee Queen, we did go on a very long rant about WandaVision. So if you do the little slider, maybe go back like 30 minutes.
30 minutes sounds about right. It's on the replay. I promise you won't miss it.
Yeah. So you have a second Marvel book. What is it?
I have a second Marvel book. This one, you're gonna be like, oh man, that's obvious that she has that.
Oh, is it this? Maybe I bought it, but I maybe didn't read it.
What do you think it is? Yep, that's exactly what it is. All right, listen, y'all. If y'all new to the game, y'all know that next to being that comic girl, I am that Star Wars girl. Okay, listen, I love Star Wars more than life itself. It is my whole reason for being. And I am damn excited about a little show called Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I am watching and reading everything to get myself psyched. And I was really fucking excited for this because it's the first solo series he's ever had. He's had a couple of one-shots, but he's never had any solo series with just himself.
I was just about to ask if this one was a one-shot or if it's an ongoing series.
It's ongoing. I believe it's a mini series. So the way that I kind of got this book is it starts off with Obi-Wan Kenobi between episode 3 and episode 4. So when he's still old, but before he meets Luke, and he's hunkered down in this little hut because there's a sandstorm on Tatooine, because of course there's a sandstorm on Tatooine, and he's like, I'm going to write about my life. And the way that the book seems to be going is each issue is focusing on a different time in his life. And I'm only assuming that because of the covers. So the first issue starts off really strong. The artwork is gorgeous. Like,
I was going to say, don't trace the artwork because it's amazing.
The artwork is drop dead gorgeous, but once you get outside of those first couple pages and we go to the flashback, it's nasty. And it's just your stereotypical standard Star Wars comic where it's like they try to rush it out. But those first couple pages are gorgeous, and I wish the whole book was like that. So the entire book is spent talking about a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi, how he's a simp for the Jedi Order, even at a very young age. I'm sorry, that's how I'm putting it out there, but he's a very big simp for the Jedi Order at a very young age. The Jedi Order could do no wrong, and he's met with his first kind of conflict with another fellow youngling where they're like, no, the Jedi Order's wrong. The Jedi Order stole me from my parents. I'm going to go back and find them. You can stay here, whatever, and do whatever. And I like the idea of it, but it was boring. And it didn't really serve anything for the story. I feel like maybe if it was only a couple pages of his experience with this character, and then we jump to maybe a teenage Obi-Wan Kenobi,
okay,
it would be more interesting. And it feels like that's where the story is going, because in the second issue, it's supposed to be Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon Jinn. Issue 3, it's been teased that it's going to be him with Commander Cody before Order 66. I know I'm throwing out all these terms for you that you don't know because you watch Star Trek, but I don't know. I feel like there's some potential for some really great internal Obi-Wan Kenobi moments that we don't always get in the movies because they didn't know what to do with the movies until Clone Wars came along. But the first issue was really disappointing, and I'm really sad.
Oh, wow. I'm really glad I got it because, I mean, I don't know too much about Star Wars. Clearly not nearly as much as you do.
I told you, I am a Star Wars. I am that meme where it's like, I'm a Star Wars. That's me.
Speaking really quick, just because I have to. Speaking of Star Trek, was it Strange New Worlds or something just came out? I watched part of the first episode. I did take a melatonin right before I watched it, so I was really sleepy. But it looks really cool, and I like where it's going. We get to see Mr. Spock about to lay down some of that Vulcan pipe.
Is this how you feel when I talk about Star Wars? Because I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
You don't know. So there's a new Star Wars that just came out, or Star Trek.
Star Wars.
A new Star Trek that just came out. Is it Strange New Worlds or some?
I thought the new Star Trek was Picard or Discovery or one of those. There's a new one.
There's a new one. There's only one episode out, Strange New Worlds, and it's pretty good. We get to see, watch it for only getting to see Mr. Spock laying down the sexy Vulcan sex pinch.
I think we have two clearly different ideas when it comes to the word sexy and sex pics or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Fine.
But I would recommend watching it. It seems pretty cool. Yeah, there's a new one.
There's a new one. Got it.
So those were the two people. I just have indie left. I've got about 5 here.
Yeah, that's it for the big 2. I'm telling y'all, it's a slow week, and I've been kind of peeking at what we're getting for next week. Next week, hopefully, should be a little bit more stacked. But yeah, it's kind of slow this week. So we gotta ramp it up for y'all. So.
Yeah, and 100%, I do watch Star Trek for the alien relations. 100% for sure.
Knew it.
Okay. So, one, two. How many indies do you have?
I have. Hold on. Now she's making me count on stream.
Sorry. I'm going to show
I
off the
have
book.
5.
Okay. I'm going to show off the books that I bought but didn't read. So I've got some reading to do. Star Ward by Steve
I
Orley.
thought you were going to say Star Wars.
Oh. Art by Ivan Shavrin. I hope I'm saying that right. I didn't read this one, Little Monsters.
Oh, I
you?
did.
Okay. What did you think about it? This is
I
is this the last one, or is it a 4-issue?
think it might be 5 issue.
Okay.
I am conflicted. I definitely like this issue more than I like the first or the second one.
Yeah.
But I feel like the problem with Little Monsters, so to kind of preface for friends that have not watched the past couple months where we've talked about them. Little Monsters is a story by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen, published by Image Comics. It follows the story of these little vampires, little children vampires, and 2 teenage vampires, where they're kind of in this post-apocalyptic type world. They've kind of been dumped there by their creator, and now they are left to kind of figure out what they are in terms of creatures, because they don't feed off of people, because they don't really see people. People show up, they're then questioning all of their moralities and their way of life, and it feels like it should be one of those books that immediately, okay, Jeff Lemire is going to get nominated for an Eisner, Dustin Nguyen's going to get nominated for an Eisner, but so far in the past 3 issues, this book has felt extremely messy. And I think I figured out why it's as messy as it is.
Why is that?
I think there are too many characters in this book. So in terms of our little monsters, see what I did there, pun intended. In terms with our little monsters there's about 5 or 6 of them. There might be 7 of them, but there's about 5 or 6 of them, and we don't get enough time to characterize with them. We don't get enough time to develop with them and to learn all of their personalities, to learn, how they interact with the world and how they react to it. And the whole time I was reading issue 3, I kept comparing it to another little Jeff Lemire book by the name of Plutona, which follows very similar themes. Maybe not necessarily the type of book, but they're extremely similar themes. And for those of you that don't know, first of all, please read Plutona. It's probably one of my favorite Jeff Lemire stories of all times. It's about there's 5 of them. There's 5 young kids that find a dead superhero in the woods. And it's kind of the Stand By Me type story where these kids have to figure out what to do with the superhero, and there's conflict amongst themselves. There's conflict with one another, and we get to see these characters grow and develop personalities and, kind of grow with the story. I feel like that's what Jeff Lemire is trying to do with Little Monsters, but because there are so many characters, and because we're trying to also develop the world along with the characters, we're kind of getting lost between them, especially when it's a book that's only 5 issues. If this book was longer, maybe not as long as Sweet Tooth, but maybe if it was, say, 20 issues, we would have time to bond with these characters, time to learn alongside them, realize the type of character that they are. And, I would feel more empathetic. This, I'm kind of just like,
almost every single time a story does that, where it introduces us to characters and we don't really feel it, at least for me, that I don't feel anything for the characters, they usually kill them off. Do you feel like that could easily happen, that all of these characters could easily die? Or do you think that maybe Image will go ahead and renew this for a second season?
They very well could, but here's the thing. If these characters were to die, if any of the characters were to die, because I don't know them, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm not going to feel emotional about it. It's not like when you're reading Sweet Tooth and you're attached to Gus and you're attached to, is it Billy or Bucky or his little friend's name? The little beaver boy. It's not like as I'm reading that book, I'm like praying with every page turn that something's not going to happen to these characters.
Don't hurt my son.
It's like with this book, it's like I don't care if they live or die. And it's a shame because Jeff Lemire, I feel like, is good for these very short stories where he develops characters very quickly and gets you attached to them. And they're very weird premises. And I feel like I've said this before with books like Set in It, with books like Set in It, Plutona, where
Primordial.
I wouldn't say primordial, but he takes these very big and large situations that almost seem otherworldly or seem fantastical, but they're still relatable as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I realize now that character's name is Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. Actually, Sheena's coming through with the Bobby, but that's exactly what it is. I know it was something. I don't know. Bobby.
The only other two books that I bought that I didn't read, Once in Future, issue 25.
That's still
and
going?
It is, yeah. And this is a new arc.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then I did get the Giant X-Men or Giant Size X-Men Thunderbird. I'm really excited to read this. But I've got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 more indies.
I wonder if they're the same ones I read. Let's go through and let's see what we got.
Okay. Did you happen to get Quest Aside?
I did.
Okay. I liked this one.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny, and
it's monster horny.
Oh, it really is.
It's monster horny. You hear that, John? We're on the Smash Report of the show.
Mm-hmm. So this is a book published by Vault. It's written by, let me go ahead and get this open. Brian Shermer is the writer. Elena Gogo is the artist. Rebecca Nalty is the colorist, and World Design does the lettering. And it's about a guy, I can't remember his name, but he owns a bar that is...
It's like a stopping point for travelers, and it's where... So the way that I describe this book is it feels like a murder hobo's D&D campaign,
yes,
but at the place where you would go to get your quest pickups. You know, it's that inner tavern that after a long quest, you come back to get your next mission, and then you go back out, and then you come back to get your next mission, and you get to see all these little vignette stories of different characters as they come in, what this inn or tavern means to them in their journey. But it does so in a very simple yet funny way. It's not overwhelming because you feel like with all these different characters and all these different storylines that it might get lost from you, but it has a very great way of branching them together. Like a character might be having a conversation in a room upstairs, and then they walk downstairs to sit at the bar, and then the story with another character starts.
Yep.
And I just think that it's... I loved the concept of this book when it was first announced, and I was scared that it wasn't going to be able to pull it off. But it did, and it's cute, and it's funny. And I feel like a lot of Volt series, especially lately with things like West of Sundown, what was the other book that just came out about the Rush? Rush, West of Sundown. You have all of these books coming out from Volt that almost feel way too serious.
Oh, yeah.
Like, give me a book like Witchblood. Give me a book like Barbaric, where they do have serious themes, but they're also funny.
Funny and enjoyable. And not to say that there's not something enjoyable about reading a book that's serious, but yes, this one has a lot of humor to it. And I really appreciate Vault. I really love Vault in the way that they do these genre kind of books, like very horror, very sci-fi, and this one is definitely in that like classic D&D style. Like you're at the tavern and you're all sitting there, and all of a sudden someone jumps in and is like, I need someone for this quest. And so this one is really fun. I'm definitely going to be picking up the next couple issues.
And I gotta say, I really like this trend that we're seeing with comic books that are D&D themed, because we saw Die, we saw The Last Session, now we've Quest Aside, and D&D, I feel like, has burst onto the scene over the past couple years, especially with Stranger Things. It felt like after Stranger Things season 1, everybody wanted to play D&D. People realized D&D wasn't just for nerds in their mom's basements anymore. People were playing D&D everywhere, whether casually or dedicated.
I would say a big part of that, I think, is because they did roll out the 5th edition, which simplified a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So I will say, like, bringing it in, making it accessible. Mm-hmm. They definitely made it a lot more accessible, and they made it a lot more diverse. And I'm going to say I'm going to contribute a lot of it to that for sure.
100%. And we're seeing a lot more D&D content in terms of TVs and movies and media. We have Critical Role, which is probably one of the biggest things out there right now. You have other things out there like Harmon Quest. And now, like I said, it's kind of branching and seeping its way into comic books. And I feel like D&D is such a large, it's so moldable, and you can make it to literally whatever you want to do it. So it's not like maybe like, I know we talked about this before, vampires are everywhere, and it seems like they're bleeding together. I feel like D&D is so large and so massive. You could do an all ages book like last session. You could do this kind of funny, quirky, comedy-esque book like Quest Aside. You could do something super hyper serious like Die, and yet none of these things will ever mold and blend together.
Exactly.
I'm excited to see what else we get in terms of, I feel like this should be its own genre. It shouldn't be in the fantasy. It should be like D&D inspired books. I don't know. It was good. I liked it. It's definitely one of the, I feel like Volt has been kind of up and down for me lately, and this one's definitely leaving on a high.
For sure. One of the books, I know that you didn't get this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it really quick. But it was Dune, Waters of Camley.
Joke's on you. No, I'm just kidding. I almost bought Dune because I'm like, I've seen the movie. Maybe I can read the book. And how surprised would Jennifer be if I read a Dune comic? I should have done it. This
one, I feel like out of all the Dune books that have come out recently, I feel like this one, if you've watched the movie, would be most easily accessible because it's basically about Gurney Halleck, and after the Battle of Arrakeen, whenever the Harkonnens take over, like they take over.
Is that the Dave Bautista people?
Yes, that's the Dave.
This is how I relate Dune characters, y'all, because their names are so weird and so ridiculous. I know Oscar Isaac's character is Duke Leto. Is that right? Am I right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I know the main character is Paul, and I only know that the main character is Paul because I think it's so ridiculous that in this beautiful sci-fi fantasy setting, your main character's name is Paul.
So you can actually attribute that to the editor when it originally came out, because he had some like weird, wacky ass names, and like his mom's name is Jessica, and like the names were a lot different, but then they kind of got, I don't want to say dumbed down a little bit, but yeah, that was an editorial choice when it first came out because he had different names originally. So I think that if you've watched the Dune movie but haven't read any books, you could pick up Dune, Waters of Camley and easily get this. The artwork is just, with all the Dune books that Boom has been doing, the artwork is just, it's beautiful. I would recommend it. And Gurney Halleck is, if you don't know this, he is a bard. So he plays the balisette, and he does little tunes. It's really good. Read Dune. Watch Dune.
Maybe I'll read Dune. Okay, I did my part. I watched Dune, okay? I watched a very long Dune movie, okay? At 8:00 at night.
Oh, geez. So I've actually only got 2 more books. What do you have?
I have 3 more books.
Ooh.
So what are the 2 that you have? Because I'm curious. I know what one of them is.
The one, I really liked both of these, but did you get a chance to get Metal Society?
I did.
What did you think of this?
Yo, man, this book threw me for a loop. I almost did not read this book. I looked at it and was like, yeah, that's not my thing. And then I was like, I've got like 0 books that I've read. Let me just choke on my pride and read this book. And I liked it. I really, really liked this book. I knew nothing going into it. I thought it was just going to be metal fighting robots. Tell me why I feel like this book feels like a companion piece to Not All Robots.
100%. So that's what I was thinking too with this, because in Not All Robots, there's a lot of resentment, for good reason, that humans have for the robots. In Not All Robots, published by AWA, but in Metal Society, it's the same way. And I felt like this could be within that Not All Robots universe, because it's literally like robots fighting humans in like big
and breeding humans. It was a very it's a very Matrix-esque thing, where in this universe, in this future, robots have kind of taken over the world.
Mm-hmm.
They have said, humans, you are incapable of caring for this planet. You dirty this planet. You pollute it. You fight wars with one another. We're going to take over and we're going to make it better. So they have basically ceased all human copulation and are now birthing them as they see fit. And we're introduced to this main character who right off the bat, we are, we're basically birthed into this world alongside her. She's our lens into this universe, and we are learning along with her all of, the laws and rules that, humans are to not necessarily to serve the robots, because it's not like they're slaves or anything like that, but it's told that humans are doing the jobs that robots don't want to do, which, okay, now that I've said that out loud, kind of sounds like slavery.
Yeah,
but
100%.
they're doing the things that robots don't want to do. And it's this one human who right out of the womb, pun intended, is like, yeah, that's not right. We should probably do something. And it feels like she's kind of the start of this rebellion that we're going to be seeing throughout the book. And I don't know. I just thought it was really, really interesting to see how this world was kind of. It took one book that I didn't expect. I thought it was just going to be robots fighting. And if I'm being quite honest with you, that first page, I was like, oh, I kind of want the robot and the lady to do the do. I want this to be a spicy monster book. But, maybe we'll get a spicy monster book, but who knows? But, yeah, it was not that. And if you did read Not All Robots by AWA Upshot last year, which we raved as being one of our favorite books, I feel like this is a no-brainer pickup for you.
Yep. And they're like, the artwork is like, seriously. And
so
sorry, let me go back a little bit, because the writer is Zach Kaplan. The art is done by Guilherme Balbi, colors by Marco Lesko, and the letters by Troy Pateri. I am struggling to, other than Join the Future, I'm struggling to remember some other stuff that Zach Kaplan has done. But it definitely, he does really good like genre work, like sci-fi type stuff. I would highly, highly recommend this.
It was good. It was definitely, when I don't want to say it was my favorite book of the week. It was the book that surprised me the most, I think, throughout the week. It was my most surprising book of the week. I feel like that needs to be a little category for our show. This is the book that surprised me.
That's so true. And because a lot of times a book like this, like you said, it could just easily be a like robot fighting human type book or something like that. But I think between the artwork, between the writing, this one surprised me a lot.
It was good. It was a very good book. I liked it a lot. So I know what your last book is, so I'll kind of briefly talk on the other book that I read this week, which was Dogs of London, published by Aftershock Comics. So I read the book, but I did not read the book. I read the first 3 pages of the book, realized there were no dogs in the book, so I stopped reading the book. Listen, there is a dog on the cover, an anthropomorphic dog carrying a gun or just doing something on the cover. And I thought, okay, it's going to be like Good Boy, which was published by, that was Scout. Behemoth was Cinnamon. Scout was Good Boy. And Good Boy was basically John Wick, but in the perspective of a dog.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I thought it was funny. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing dogs doing this stuff again, but maybe told in a different point of view. It's not. Dogs of London is a metaphor for like a mob boss group. And it is a very boring, stereotypical 1960s mob-esque type book. I'm sure that there's an audience for it.
Yeah.
I'm not that audience.
Oh, no.
I'm not that audience. So if you're trying to read Dogs of London expecting dogs, save the $3.99 and don't get it because there are 0 dogs in the book. It's very upsetting.
0 dogs in the book called Dogs of London.
0 dogs.
Wow. It's funny because I did put Cinnamon up here. You can't see it because it's to the side, but Cinnamon by Behemoth was really, really good. And it's about
Cinnamon was so good. Cinnamon did not deserve to be as good as it was. And maybe I'm saying that because it was published by Behemoth, but that book brought me such joy in a time when I needed it that I love that book. I want it to be like 1 million more issues.
I think, are we getting more? I could have sworn that we're getting more.
I think we're getting more Good Boy. I don't think we're getting any more Cinnamon.
Yeah. Well, I've got one last book, and it's probably going to be the same one. That is Twig.
I feel like this was supposed to be the big book of the week. Everybody was talking about it. There was an ash can that came out about it. It was supposed to be the next big Image book.
I love this book. I love this book so much. I don't know if it's like the next big thing.
I'm indifferent. I'm indifferent on this book. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. It was just kind of, I was just kind of like, it happened. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll tell more about my feelings on it later. But as somebody who really liked the book, why do you love it so much?
I think what it is that I love the artwork. I love the like weird ass characters that we get to see.
It's very Dark Crystal feeling.
It is. And I also feel like it's peak Scotty Young, even though Scotty Young is just writing it and not drawing it. I feel like it's everything that I needed for just like a cute little, like if you liked Kanto,
everything Kanto.
You're in the chat. If you didn't pick up Twig, I feel like he would really, really love this book. I feel like John's Comics with Kids should pick this one up for him and his kids. I really, really loved it a lot.
I agree with that. And maybe that's why I didn't like it, because I don't know. I think part of me wanted something more from this book. Part of me, because there are some, it's a very cute-ish looking book, very Dark Crystal-y, fantastic, almost Muppety type designs. But at the same time, there's some designs that not necessarily feel grotesque, but feel creepy in their own way, but still being kind of cute. And part of me was like, I would really like this book if it just went on full-blown like dark, like murdery, beautiful darkness type thing. And then I'm like, wait a minute, we kind of already have that book by Scotty Young, and it's called I Hate Fairyland. But I kind of wanted it to go dark, not raunchy dark, because I feel like I Hate Fairyland goes raunchy dark. I want it dark, like beautiful darkness, creepy, gives me the heebie-jeebies type. I feel like this is supposed to just be a flat landed all ages story, and I feel like Image Comics is a weird place for it. I feel like this is a book that should have been published by Boom,
maybe Oni, like maybe an Oni,
or even like Boombox. I feel like Boombox maybe, but I feel like Scotty Young has such a relationship with Image. That's why it's there.
I do kind of agree with that, because even though a lot of Scotty Young's like themes tend to be, it's really, really cute and looks like it's for kids, but it's really not. It's for adults. I feel like this one definitely is a lot more all ages. Maybe that's what Image needs.
Maybe.
I don't know. But I thought that this one, because I feel like this one was very hyped up and was supposed to be the book of the week, then I'm like, okay, we'll see. I still really, really loved it. I think it is going to go a little bit dark, but not dark like
not dark like I want it to be.
No. But I think that's because it's a really good palate cleanser in a very positive way. I really love Twig.
I agree. Like I said, I don't want to say I didn't like it, because it's not that I didn't like it. It's like I said, maybe it's just not for me. And also, yes, Stapled Spine. I feel like after the Me Love in the Dark, I don't know if Scotty Young can do anything else for me. I feel like that was my top tier book, at least for me, that he'll ever write. I don't think anything that he ever does again will ever touch it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. For me, yeah, I get that. I get that. I'm excited to see where this goes.
I would still recommend it. I don't think it was maybe as hyped as it didn't meet the hype, because maybe it's just the circles I'm in. Maybe it's the internet side of the internet I'm in. Circles I'm in. Maybe it's the side of the internet I'm in. I felt like this book was just being hyped up to no end, like it was going to be the next big thing. And I think I went into that with that mindset that it's going to be the next Die, or the next, maybe not Saga. That's rude. Yeah. But like the next Die or Rat Queens, how those books kind of blew up when they first started. But this wasn't quite that, at least not for me.
Well, that's pretty much everything that I have. Do you have anything else, or?
No, I do not. I'm taking a look at the books for next week, though.
Yeah.
Next week feels like it's both going to be a very big week, but also a very, very controversial week, because there's 2 books out that I think we're both going to be excited for.
Okay, what are they?
It looks like X-Men 11.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that's the start of the Hellfire Gala. So y'all will get me reading an X-Men book next week, just so I can kind of see the looks and see what's happening. But we're finally getting, after months and months and months, we're finally getting the long-anticipated finale of Brian Azzarello's Suicide Squad Get Joker.
I didn't
And
know
we all know how I felt about the last 2 issues. And y'all know I gotta bring the violence for the 3rd issue.
Oof.
So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. But we also have some other big books like Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood is coming out. Captain America, Symbol of Truth. 7 Secrets, the finale is going to be out next week. Something a little depressing. Grimm #1 from Boom Studios. 8 Billion Genies from Image. As Staple Spine said, another Bunny Mask series from Aftershock, which...
And Paul Tobin is going to be at a local comic book shop, Cosmic Monkey. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Stapled Spines, please feel free to drop some details in the chat about that, because here in Portland, Paul Tobin is going to be here at Cosmic Monkey, I think. Yeah.
So there's some big books out next week. So we should have some good stuff to talk about. I feel like comics have been a little quiet for the past couple months. I feel like, we've gotten some stuff, but we'll get back there. The mojo will keep coming back. It'll come back.
I feel like sometimes it's like they trade off. Sometimes, like for me, I feel like this week was a really big indie week, because all of the indie, even though it was a small stack kind of week, the indie books that I read were pretty much all excellent. I really enjoyed all the first issues that I read. So, but then maybe the big 2, Marvel and DC, were
big 2 were quiet.
So then next week we'll see what it's like, but I feel like it's going to be a pretty big indie week next week.
Yeah, feels like it's going to be.
Okay, so Cosmic Monkey here in Portland, 1 to 3 on Saturday the 14th. Paul Tobin.
Very exciting stuff. Do you have anything in the works? I know you did Free Comic Book Day yesterday. I didn't get to go to Free Comic Book Day because, I had to celebrate something called a little anniversary. And it was raining. It was raining and nasty, so I was like, I don't really want to go out. So no Free Comic Book Day for me. But you volunteered yesterday.
I did.
Pictures in Portland. And you got some rad stuff.
Very, very briefly. Very, very briefly. I actually, I was supposed to do a little bit more volunteering, did not feel well, so I left early. But it was really fun. So not only did Katie and crew set up for Free Comic Book Day, and people got their free comics, but there were some vendors there selling some really cool things like jewelry and art and prints and things like that. There was also a live musician and the opening of a couple of food truck carts. There's a waffle food truck cart that is my absolute favorite, so of course I got some waffles.
Portland just sounds so cool. The more you talk about it, the more I'm like, man, maybe I should just pack up everything and go to Portland.
Yeah. Packing and moving is kind of a bitch, but it was a really good decision. So, and that, I don't even know what was going on at the other shops, but this was just literally within this little block that our shop inhabits. There's also a record store underneath Books with Pictures, so it's a really fun place. So I did go. I snatched up some comics, the ones that I got, because you get 5 for free. So I got Super Pets because I thought that was it looked really.
I'm so excited for that movie. It's gonna be so good.
It is. I also got Hollow because it looked kind of like sci-fi horror-y. And then I did get Judgment Day. I was told that I need to read this, so based on just things that are going on. I also got the Bone Orchard Mythos Prelude, which is Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart, which I'm pretty sure is the same team behind Primordial.
It's the same team behind Primordial and Gideon Falls.
Gideon Falls, yep, you're right. And then I got Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. I'm really, really, really excited for this one. It looks really, really cute.
So. I'm so excited for that.
Yep. But that's it for me. I don't have much.
It's quiet. It's all been quiet. All right. We're in this weird comic lull. I feel like, listen, I don't have a lot to talk about because I've been reading a lot of stuff, but I've been rereading a lot of stuff because every year I tell myself I'm going to hit 100 graphic novels. I'm going to read 100 graphic novels in a year. And I feel like for the past couple of years, because I track myself on Goodreads, I'm like, listen, you cannot read this book because you just read it a year ago. You just read it 2 years ago. And it felt like for a while I was punishing myself. And it's like, no, you have to read new stuff, and new things. And I think this year I'm finally breaking down and being like, you know what? I'm going to read whatever makes me happy and whatever I want to read. So I've been rereading a lot of stuff. I reread Trials of Magneto. I reread Barbarian the Red Planet, All New Wolverine, Moon Knight by Jeff Lemire, because obviously you got to read Moon Knight by Jeff Lemire right now. But yeah. Read what you want.
I agree. I think, I was like, I'm going to read 1,000. No, I'm not going to read 1,000.
Yeah, remember when you said that and you were crazy?
I'm probably going to get up to 500, maybe. We'll see.
You're crazy. You're insane.
Crazy girl. So we'll see if that actually happens. So, but I'm also counting if I read a whole series. So if I read, a 3 or 4 issue series and it wraps up, that counts. So
I guess that could count. Maybe I should make that count. Maybe I would hit my
You
goal
should.
if I did that.
You totally should, because it counts. So that's it for me. I hope everyone has a happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day. If you celebrate, if you can, like I said, call or text your mom like I'm about to do. So I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll be back, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Woo.